Hi, everyone, and welcome into the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, and happy to be hosting the show with Greg Keagle this week. Greg, welcome back, former Major League Baseball pitcher.
Pleasure to be here.
Sitting in for
always look forward to talk sports with you too.
Yeah, and we got some baseball topics a little later on. Pat Duffy going from football to hockey right away.
Well, yeah, the Sabres announced that the Goat Head is coming back as a third jersey last year. Well, it's been rumored. It's been confirmed outside of the Sabres. Long story short, this is my favorite sweater. Preseason game-worn Dmitry Kalinin with the number 75 instead of the 45.
This strikes as being legitimately rare.
Yeah, this might be the only one, this and the black one that his mom probably owns. So me and his mom, we're like this.
All righty. Right. Hey, let's talk NFL overtime, Greg. It seems to me that there's an obvious problem here when statistically, since 2012, they run these things back, the 10 of the 11 playoff games that went into overtime were won by the team that won the toss. That, to me, is intolerable.
Yeah, I'm... Look, obviously, as a homer, and I like the Bills. Let's take the Bills game out of this. I would like to see something, a little bit more similar to even college. It's just, to me, I don't love the idea that you get, a coin toss determines if you can allow both teams to have some type of, again, I understand that in football there's always an advantage, but to me that's just awful one-sided.
Parity and innovation. I mean, the NFL has shown in the past they're not afraid to do stuff.
Sure, but there's nothing you need to do here. And I know I'm going to sound like the worst Bills fan on the planet this week, right? Because the way everyone's feeling, it's exactly the way it should be. There's no other better way to do it than the way they're doing it right now. Because you bring up the college idea, right? Well, if everybody gets a possession, and you play until somebody scores, well, you're now extending the game after you've played an entire game, which ups the risk for injury because guys have been playing all day and they're exhausted. Let's say you run the full 15 minutes, you got the same problem. And then what happens if they're still tied after 10, 12, 15 minutes? You play a whole other quarter
but we're not talking about a lot of games here. I mean, there's three high profile of these. The Patriots winning a Super Bowl against Atlanta. The Chiefs lost a game to the Patriots in the playoffs, AFC Championship game, and the one that happened this weekend to Buffalo. We're not talking about a lot of games, but they're such big games.
Okay, but isn't your argument then arguing why it should stay the same? We're not talking about a lot of games here. It's 3 games in the last 25 years that have been decided by this stand out in your head.
3 high-profile games. I still go back to that 10-1.
Okay. Let me put it this way. So you guys are upset that the offense does not have both offenses don't have a chance to touch the ball.
Well, my thing, but though, it is rooted in the fact that the game has changed. And there were so many points scored in this game that it is reasonable to assume that in a 36-36 game, the team that gets first is going to go down and score a touchdown, as opposed to when the game was being dominated by 17-17 games.
Okay, well then let's do it this way, right? As a coach, as a player, as a general manager, you should adapt when you see that you're at a disadvantage. If you lose the coin toss, onside kick. Why wouldn't you, right? If you know that you have,
would that be gutsy?
You know you have a 92% chance of losing this game if they receive the kickoff in the playoffs, onside kick. Bet you it changes things a whole heck of a lot now, doesn't it? That's the adaptation I'm talking about. Like, if you want to stick your fingers in the game and mess with it, you're going to have problems until you figure out how it actually works, how it works the best way, and there's no way to figure it out.
There is one perfect way. It was a crazy thing, and we brought it up and discussed it here once before. It was the spot and choose option that the Ravens, so you win the toss, and you get to choose where the ball is placed, and the other team gets to choose based on that whether they want the ball or whether they want to play defense.
No, but it's going to be like the 3-on-3 overtime in NHL.
Complex.
No, everyone's going to pick the 50. Everybody is going to pick the 50-yard line.
No, if Kansas, I could just see them putting the Chiefs on the 5-yard line. And says, all right, you get the ball first.
No,
you take it from the 5.
They just went 75 yards twice in a combined 37 seconds.
But now you're making them go 95.
Onside kick.
You're putting your best team. They often say, what kind of red zone defense are you? That's where your best defense comes out, right? So you're kind of taking a chance. You have your best offense in the red zone against the best defense in the red zone. When you spread out the field, you have more player safety issues. You do create a longer game. I think that there is an answer. Hopefully they find it. I don't know where that answer is, but I don't love the idea that we didn't
make a lot of progress here solving this problem.
Did you not hear my onside kick idea?
I know, there was no problem.
Brilliant idea. Thank you.
Yeah, but then everyone's going to do it.
Awesome chaos, baby.
This is the Rochester Press Box. We're talking Buffalo Bills next. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box, our Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda. For over 3 generations and celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer, visit Ralph Honda today and find out how we do Honda right. RalphHonda.com. The Buffalo Bills season is over. Postmortem. What do you got?
Well, it's funny, man. Like I watched that game Sunday night, and the game was over. I wasn't mad because that game was so brilliant. It was the greatest NFL game that's ever played. I think you can make a legitimate, non-hyperbole argument for that. So I figured, all right, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be upset. And I woke up Monday, and I wasn't mad. And I woke up Tuesday, and I wasn't mad. Like, look, it sucks that the Bills are not moving forward here. But that performance we saw from those two teams, those two quarterbacks in particular, was so brilliant. I cannot be upset that the Bills lost that game. Because look, if you went and lost that game to a guy like Nick Foles, if that happened with a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa, I'm livid that the game's over. But look, you guys know sports. Sometimes you are just up against a competitor that gets the last shot and beats you, right? Like, I don't think there's any shame in losing that game the way the Bills did. Football is different than the football we remember. Everyone making all these points about what the Bills should have done coming out of whether defensively or offensively in the last 2 minutes of the game. Those rules have been changed. And I think McDermott knows that, and I think Andy Reid knows that. And what we're seeing is what the NFL has been trying to get to for the last 15 years with the rule changes. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
What bothered me is because I consider myself sort of a student of history, and I just know these windows don't stay open that long. And it's like you get there, you were so close, and now you're knocked back to the bottom of the hill again.
It's literally, if you think of the way, they set up a key and how, everything has to be perfect for it to fit. And it just seemed like things were dropping into place all over, and obviously, to me, depending on which side of the coin you look at it, it's painful or it's great that you saw, growth, a young quarterback that certainly is. I think nobody is questioning whether Josh is great. It's not. There's no more roller coaster. He's not a good game, bad game. Not to say that any quarterback can't have a bad game, because we do know sports and they literally call it any given Sunday for a reason. But yet, that's to be the number one defense, to not be able to stop that in 13 seconds. You can't, if that is the case, that Patrick Mahomes is that good that he can go 44 yards in 13 seconds, then then that defense needs to be completely overhauled, because they can't stop the play that needs that to me is, that's very frustrating for a fan.
Look, I understand, but I think you're looking at it too in face, pull it back out a little bit, because I'm thinking it's Monday morning when we're on the air in the break room, right? How would a Chiefs fan have felt had the Bills won that game, had that 13 seconds hold up? Because Josh Allen went 75 yards, not using a single timeout, twice, and scored 2 touchdowns with a wide receiver that no one in Kansas City had ever heard of before. And that defense that the Chiefs are playing with was one of the best in the league in the last 10 weeks of the season. Correct. You had 2 really, really good defenses, and it goes back to the point I made earlier. Defense doesn't matter anymore. These quarterbacks that we watch play are so good, you could have trotted out anything, and they would have figured out a way to will themselves to win.
I always view you as like the ultimate Bills fan, and I totally respect, are you, content's a bad word, to live with the idea that the Buffalo Bills now are the tragic heroes? 4 Super Bowl losses, the Tennessee miracle, and this. Well, it's their history. It's their MO.
But again, I don't look at it as tragic. You look at the wide right with Scott Norwood, that's tragic, right? You have your opportunity, you blow it. You look at the Music City Miracle, that's Frank Wycheck throwing to Kevin Dyson. Those guys aren't going to be remembered forever. Again,
how many years has it been, and you still got them right there?
Doesn't bother me at all, right? No. Again, because you lost to that kind of athlete with those kind of weapons. Tyreek Hill scored a touchdown. The game was over. Josh Allen won the game again, and then you have an all-world tight end in Travis Kelce do what he did, going up against a guy like Levi Wallace. I'm okay with the way that it happened. Like I said, Baker Mayfield did that to us. I'm out of my damn mind.
He's got the chops to be able to take young guys now. McDermott used to like veteran. He liked veteran coaches around him. Does he open up some opportunities?
This is going to be a whole new experience for him. Our Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by RalphHonda.com, and Like It or Not is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
From travel to radio days to bloopers. Oh, and I have a special guest. You know Steve Hausman. He joins me on my next podcast at thegetawayguy.com.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Keagle Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, brought to you by Keagle Brothers Law Firm. Attorneys with years of experience defending the accused. Don't go unprepared. Contact Keagle Brothers Law today. Pat, like it or not, well, the baseball talks have resumed. You expecting anything?
No, of course I'm not expecting anything. Look, hopefully the almighty dollar wins out, right? That both these sides want to get paid. But we've seen in the past that isn't necessarily the push that gets them over the top. If they don't play or they miss time, this will be the third work stoppage in my lifetime of Major League Baseball. The NFL has not missed a regular season game, with the exception of the strike players while I was a itty-bitty baby. Yet, Major League Baseball, and it breaks my heart to say, which has seen itself waning in popularity when it comes to television numbers and people coming out to the games. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And what are you trying to prove, right? Funniest part, we talked about it when it happened. Before you locked these players out, you gave them what, $2 billion combined worth of salary like the day before? What are we doing here? Figure it out. You know people, talk to somebody.
You've been a major league player. Did you put one of these?
I'm looking at some of the parameters, and I mean, one of the arguments is that there's not a pool enough for, when a young player has a certain WAR. If he plays good enough, will he not get a huge contract later? Isn't that the reward of playing good enough? Why should he have a bonus pool of money? I guess Major League Baseball offered $10 million, and the Players Association wants $100 or $105 million. So we're way off. And then on top of it, we're talking about $600,000, $700,000 in minimum salary. That's not enough money. We're losing perspective. I could not agree more. That's for a former player, that's disappointing. And I'm not one of these guys, but there are guys, because they didn't play in the right time frame, that are going to struggle to have medical benefits or a pension that's strong. And you've got some young player that's going to make $770,000 for being there for a year. Guys, we're
vent a little.
That was it.
Greg, like it or not, Prince Fielder gets 2 Hall of Fame votes.
I love it. To me, that really shows what is the Hall of Fame? Is it a popularity contest, or is it based on numbers and based on really whether guys earned it, right? Were you in a certain era? Did you maybe use, performance enhancing drugs that the whole league might have used? I profess on my children's life, I never did. But we talked about this, for all anybody knows, how do you know I didn't? So
I trust you, Greg.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But my point is the fact that some guys are being shunned and left out because some sports writer didn't believe that he should make that's. Again, shame on that sports writer then for it being a personal reason versus numbers. And I guess I don't know.
And you may have a little something more to say about that in Unfinished Business.
I may.
How about you?
How does Prince Fielder get 2 Hall of Fame? How does Prince Fielder get 1 Hall of Fame?
Somebody liked him. Exactly right.
You can't, if you go to Detroit, you can't find a Prince Fielder jersey in the Prince Fielder jersey in the city of Detroit. Go to any city you played in.
And that's really the measure of all measures, right?
Well, but it is.
Jersey sales.
No, but if I can find a jersey of a player that played 20, 30, 40 years before, that player was significant. That's how I judge these things, legitimately. Find it for me. Find it.
Like it or not, brought to you by Keagle Brothers Law. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one. Score!
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. It's time for Unfinished Business, and Pat, as always, starts us off.
If you watch the show or listen to the break room, you know I'm a diehard Bills fan. It's going to hurt me to say what I'm about to say right now. But Bills fans, what is wrong with some of you people? You're all upset about the way the game ended, and I get it. It's fanaticism. But whoever keeps saying that a squib kick on that last kickoff would have won the game, you're ridiculous. 3 things I want to bring up. 1, if you forget history, it's bound to repeat itself. We brought up the Music City Miracle a second ago. You know what that was? A squib kick. It was a squib kickoff where Frank Wycheck throws a ball to Kevin Dyson and it costs you the game. Those were not the athletes that the Chiefs have on the field. So you got that potential. Problem number 2, you run the risk of drilling somebody in the chest on the other team at the 50-yard line with a squib kick. And they fall on top of it. And 1 second runs off the clock. And guess what? Now there's 12 seconds left, and they're already on the 50-yard line. And you also run the 3rd risk of that kick getting all the way deep. Tyreek Hill just burned you on a punt return, almost for a touchdown. How about this? Matt Hawk was almost the savior of the Buffalo Bills season, dragging him down from behind to keep him from keeping the game out of reach. There was no way, right, to sit here using 2020 hindsight and go, well, this is what definitely would have worked. It's like I said before, the game is different now. Everything you think you know about football, and I include myself in this, is now gone. It's a video game. We're privileged to be here watching it, but do not use ideas from 25 years ago to guarantee this is how the game would have ended.
So this time of year, they do the Hall of Fame votes for Major League Baseball, and, you know, it makes me wonder, am I being too hard on my standards? Am I allowing my emotions to play too much in what I believe is truly a Hall of Famer? You know, you look at this year with David Ortiz being a first ballot Hall of Famer, and there's no doubt it's not his numbers, it's what he did for the fans of Boston and what he did for the fans of baseball and how clutch he was at the most important times. And you know, looking back, how he lasted, you know, there are, knowing the inner sanctums of baseball, I know that guys have different ways to prepare for battle. But at the end of the day, the game of baseball is a very hard game to play. And watching what some of these guys are able to do at the most important moments and with that many people watching, you know, maybe I am being a little too hard on what makes a Hall of Famer and what makes somebody great. Yeah, did it cost me money? Probably. Did it cost guys money at other times in their career? Probably. Am I happy I didn't take them and that I have the integrity that I know I didn't take them? Absolutely. But is a Hall of Famer because he did or didn't do something to make his body stronger? I promise that not a single drug in the world has made a guy stronger without the work that it took to get there. And there is not a drug known to man, because I'm pretty sure people would be bottling it and taking it if there was a drug that allowed you to hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Harmonica Pete Dupre. It's funny you wind up on the sport page, or the press box for that matter. Edison High School class of 1942, a World War II vet, one of the last. Might be some kind of record when at the age of 96, Pete became an internet sensation, going viral with his harmonica. He played at a Women's World Cup soccer match and silenced a crowd of 30,000 with his rendition of the national anthem. That was 2019, when, as we said, Pete was 96. Over the last 3 years of his life, Pete and his harmonica were in big demand. He'd outgrown playing the local festival scene and the church bazaars. He couldn't read music, but he considered himself a serious musician. Pete told me, quote, "The judgment of being serious or not was if I could take a song and do something with it. And I've been able to do that with my harmonica that they say you can't do." He loved the attention. Pete was a natural storyteller, important stories about the old war. He was a great old guy. I knew it was something special when I was out of state watching football games at a sports bar. Pete and his harmonica turned up at a Vikings game playing the national anthem, and I jumped up and said, "I know that guy." Pete Dupre, one of those people busy making all of our lives a little better whether we knew it or not. Part of the fabric of Rochester, part of the fabric of America. Rest in peace, my friend. That is Unfinished Business, and that is our program. Gentlemen, a lot to talk about today. Good job. Greg, nice to see you again.
Yes, great to be here. And always having fun.
Pat Duffy?
Good try, Bill.
Have a good week. What do you mean, good try? Good try. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week on the Rochester Press Box.